Hello common people, this is Kumunga Reviews and I am your lovely host, Pepsi. I decided to pay a visit to one of my all-time favorite horror movies from 2007. Movie is simply called 198 1408 and is an American psychological horror film based on Stephen King's 1999 short story of the same name. Movie is directed by Michael Hostrom, written by Matt Greenberg, Scott Alexander and Larry Kareski, and stars John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. Here we follow a writer and a paranormal investigator, Mike Enslin. His job is to find all places haunted, cursed and all that good stuff, and he writes books about his experiences in them. It highly seems that he isn't that popular of an author because when he signs a book in a bookstore and there's like 4 people in there listening, just guessing by that, trying to get by, he ends up surfing and gets into an accident. There he receives an anonymous postcard that says that he shouldn't enter the room 14-8 in the Dolphin Hotel. This of course only makes his curiosity peak, and soon Mike is trying to book the very same room. In his surprise, hotel denies his efforts and he has to go there in person, after he learns that hotels by the law has to rent a vacant room or they could sue the hotel for it. There he is confronted by a manager, Gerald Olin, who tries his best to deny Mike's attempt to spend the night in that room. The room is full of mysterious deaths, so this again just makes our author more interested. After back and forth, he is finally escorted to the room 1408, and what follows are just absurd paranormal events that Mike cannot just brush off as a fakes, even when he tries to find logical reason for all this. Horror beyond his comprehension occurs as he has to spend an hour in this cursed room. I saw this film when I was a teenager and I instantly liked it. This horror movie contains almost no jump scares, and even those that are in there are pretty good and don't feel cheap. The story of this mysterious room takes you within, and the movie times itself realistically. When the clock is shown 60 minutes and starts counting down, you can check that the movie itself has a little over an hour to run. So instead of time skips and blackouts, you live every minute with Mike Enslin in real time, which makes this movie a good horror experience. A movie where time is relevant and at the same time isn't. Movie plays with many subjects and is a great example of psychological horror rather than classic spooks and scares. Mike Enslin gives me a Nicolas Cage vibe from time to time. At some points he overreacts, but still does things like it's convincing. Like when he speaks aloud, trying to think how these paranormal things are just tricks. He runs from room to room trying to rationalize everything. It's funny, but still pretty realistic. Also his descent to the madness is really well done. How there is desperation, denying everything, anger and sadness. I have said this every now and then, but I like when movies give you one place it makes almost everything happen in. So this room is like this. Over the half of the runtime we are in the room 1408 and they use this limited space really well. Samuel L. Jackson in his role as a manager Gerald Olin was also a nice character, even if his screen time was rather short. How he warns Mike, how he then finally gives up and just kinda gives Mike to the room to handle, as he sips his expensive whiskey and witnesses another poor soul being toyed with by whatever this room holds within. The room itself lives and warps as it tries to consume its victim. Sometimes it becomes a totally different place, even if we can see that we indeed are in the same room still as we were at the start. Outside world is shut off, sometimes figuratively, sometimes literally, and movie takes itself apart from the outside world brilliantly. Mike can shout from the window, but we know that there is no one listening. Movie tricks you. It makes you think that situations are different even if they aren't. And when finally you think that you know what the movie is trying to do, it comes back with a huge twist and then leaves you gasping air while credits scroll. I am not going to ruin the experience from anyone. I just wanted to make this review to sing a gospel to this movie that I hold as one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It may not be everyone's cup of tea. Perhaps because the John Cusack's acting, which resembles in some sense Nicolas Cage acting, with expressions and overreacting and overacting, which may be equally as off-putting and same time quirky and interesting. but I think that it made a good fit for the story and I enjoyed every minute with this movie once again. This was my review about 1408. Evil Room indeed, and I hope that you take bait and watch this as soon as possible. This was Common Car Reviews and I am your lovely host Pepse, and I'll see you in the next review. Goodbye!